more thing. Thought I was forgetting something. God, the ad layout when I press is so funky. Oh, I need to pay better attention across the streams, I think. Alright, that's in place, that's in place. Up. Well. And then if I recall correctly, my commands don't work when I'm in Final Fantasy. Oh no, they do. There's one game where I didn't have anything. There we go. Still haven't had anyone ask why I have a cookie run thing as my ad blocker, but that's alright. Cool. I'll give that a couple seconds then. So anyways. Left on that? That's fine. Although, with doing Final Fantasy stuff, there's not going to be too much happening, I think. And I am technically streaming at a time frame that I don't usually stream. Kind of in the middle of it, if anything. Copper Bell? Although when it comes to streaming, there's always a little bit of wiggle room when it comes to avenues you want to deal with anyhow, isn't there? You've got people who are in there for the comedy of it. There are people who are in there just for the comfort of it. Then there are people in there who are a little bit ruder than usual. Oh, hey Solace. That's the button. Welcome in. Do hope everything's going alright and that Kin is working alright on your OC. We get to see the true bun shot soon. Then I'll get to finally answer the question of what her tail is like. That's always good. Further. But how'd the day end up going for you? Get to enjoy yourself a bit at least? Or is the Boshi view the highlight? Not that that's a bad thing, but never hurts to check. Yeah, it is over any ways. 8 is a color. Oh no, 8 is an expression. Noted. I guess we can just swap over to here for now. The UI is going to be very cluttered with the chat blocker and the music tab on, but that's probably fine. Yeah, today will just be a relatively chill night. Since Solace is preoccupied in the design room and Izo is dealing with a slight computer issue with Nizbot, it's just gonna be me tonight. And since we're playing the game that I usually play to just hope he's able to get fixed, I am too, to be honest with you. In this day and age, it's pretty difficult to actually live without a machine, and especially in his line of work, needing to wrangle a bunch of children together to make music would probably require his computer a healthy bit. But I'm sure we'll hear from him at some point. But I do kind of wonder what would have happened with it. Because if it's just a situation where it was fine the previous day and then it just doesn't turn on the next, that's kind of what happened with my machine as well. Or at least the old machine, where presumably the motherboard fried. So I hope it's not that, because boy's gonna need a full computer setup after that. Or rather, just getting a new tower, which isn't bad, but I'm not sure if everyone can really just scope the expense on that. Thank you, Solace. Hope you enjoy your 450 points for the 10 watch stream. Kinda hoping I'm not breaking everyone's streams by doing the mistimings, but that's alright. More points I can use to quack or throw things? Exactly. Although I guess I realistically should come up with other things, since point-wise, not really much of it gets used, whether it's cheap or expensive. I probably complained too much about the Toho redeems, didn't I? I guess I'll just leave that one on there. Alright, let's see here. With getting this character up, this one's still pretty early in the running. But I am just taking them through the basic AR tutorial, which lasts until basically level 50. And since this character is going to be one of the Shadowbringers classes, I do have to bring them up to level 70 before I can actually get them on the job that they're on. That's fun. And at least when it comes down to this one, with the way things work for the most part, I'll probably just stick to the branch of the class if they unlock later. So if it's a DPS, I'll just start with the easiest DPS to level with. And then on the healers, I'm basically set up in that regard anyways. because there are only the 3 healers right now? 4 healers right now. This one's going to end up being a Sage at the end of the day, so I'm going to have to level them up a good bit to actually get them anywhere. I've already got a Scholar in the works. Kind of forgot about Astrologian, though. That is a level 50 unlock in Ishgard, from what I recall. So I guess I still have a couple more healers to bring up in that regard. Not entirely a bad thing. The biggest bulk of it is going to be doing all of the DPS, but thankfully not many of them are required to unlock later. The main ones would be Reaper, Machinist. Let's see, Reaper, Machinist, and Dancer. Since Reaper is in the same ballpark as Sage, and then Machinist is in Ishgard, which you have to clear through most of AR before you even get to that point. Crystal's up there. We've already got an archer going. We've already got a bard going. We've got a ninja already. We've got a samurai set up. We've got the red mage and black mage set up. So blue mage doesn't matter because you can't play that in most content anyways, and that kind of defeats the purpose of it. They'll probably just get one of these casters to also level blue mage at some point, just so that way that I have it accounted for. Oh god, Mahjong. I know a few people who like traditional Mahjong, and I've tried it a little bit myself as well. It's not an easy game to get into, I can at least say that much. But that is the equivalent of playing Japanese poker, so it makes sense. Pretty good website for it too, with Mahjong Soul. Has a little bit of gacha in it, but it's more so just gacha for visual effects. So if you want the option to not play as a cat girl, you can at least buy your way out of that, but all you're fishing for is visuals, which I appreciate when it comes to a gacha. All the rest of it is just player skill. In terms of deception in an online game. I have leveling yet? I do have leveling. I should probably do that just while I'm getting all this going. And since we're a healer, it's going to be instant, so that's at least good. Come in here, right? Oh. Get Tam. Okay. Oh, I even get party leader. Oh, this is actually a low ranked one. No one's actually changed jobs yet. Does look like the healer is experienced though. You can kind of tell when someone's a bit of a newbie to this dungeon because they don't pull as far as they realistically should. I probably need to actually focus on healing a little here too if they're going to pull this hard. Also, that is partly why we're listening to metal tonight. Huh. The Arcanist is healing. Why is the Arcanist healing? Maybe they're new. There we go. Maybe this really is a newbie dungeon. I don't usually have the Arcanists trying to heal other people. Oh, don't worry, I gotcha. The wizard can be a healer if he has the healer feat and filled his backpack with healer kits and potions. Very true. In this case, at least with Final Fantasy, because there is a split job or a split class, where if you take Arcanist, you can either go to Scholar or Summoner. Arcanist itself starts as a DPS, but it does have a proper heal other people skill. The only other class to actually have that is Red Mage. Because Red Mage is fun, and Red Mage gives you white and black magic. And Blue Mage, technically, but Blue Mage doesn't count. Blue Mage is just the basically cheat code for what you would expect for, oh hey, I can use the monster's abilities. Because that's all Blue Mage is. Yeah, they're to explain roughly, since I don't plan on actually going over Blue Mage during our exploration through 14 in this rather unorthodox method. Blue Mage has a list of spells that they can learn from monsters. They can't learn everything, but they can learn a good subset of like 400 to 500 spells, I believe. There is like a core set that most people use, but there's a core set that people tend to use, but it is not anything super special by any stretch. Just enough to let you coast through most of the overworld content and dungeon content. At least when it does come to... I'll get hit by that, but that's fine. When it does come to the dungeon content, there's a reason Blue Mage is not allowed to actually party up like normal. You have to do a custom round to do any dungeons as Blue Mage. Because Blue Mage literally gets skills that can let them do anything. Where are the other guys? Oh. Maybe I should pay attention. Looks like Eric does not have a glam just yet. To do. Yeah, Blue Mage can get skills that let them fulfill any job class, from tanking to DPS to healing to support. It's kind of the general idea when it does come down to it, so I get it. But I can understand the developers of 14 just being like, no, we're not going to balance dungeons around Blue Mage. Because that would be silly. And admittedly, it would be, because the Blue Mage can just clear basic mob waves really easily with skills like Missile Drop or just harder hitting instant kill moves. It's a little silly. There's even slightly sillier spells with things like Thousand Needles, which is a skill you get from Cactuars that does exactly 1000 damage every time you cast it. Yeah, you can get that. It's not as impressive as it seems, if only because of the fact that you kind of lose usefulness for it around level 25-ish, or level 30-ish rather. Gotten wrecked in every game I've seen it. Yeah. When it comes, I don't have like the numbers up at all, but at least when it comes to 14, 1,000 damage is nothing. Numbers get so inflated by the time you hit like level 50 that 1,000 is slightly pointless. But it's at least good enough to get you to like level 30 as a blue mage, and I believe you can learn it around like level 20. Or level 15 if you're lucky. Oh, you're running ahead of me. I can't heal you if you pull this hard, dude. We go. Yeah, I've learned a decent amount of Final Fantasy XIV in my time playing it. Since I have been playing it for a few years, at least. Dude. Although I never really got into high-level raid content. That just wasn't up my alley. So I just ignored it for the most part. Oh, you're gonna be doing the fun stuff. Do. Although I do have a couple characters that are partially omni-leveled, so I do tend to focus more on basic dungeon combat and just roleplay and glamour stuff. Because as with most games, glamour is still pretty important to the end game of 14, so you're not exactly going to be avoiding that by any stretch. Granted, you can look like a homeless person if you want to, but that's going to require some skill with most of the higher level gear actually looking half decent. Like, no matter what you do, you would actively have to go out of your way to make your gear look worse by that point. But it hasn't stopped people. I've seen people get dressed up in pig suit and the frog suit and the chicken suits just for high level dungeons. But that is the silly part, so then they get that. Then we let everybody wander over here. Probably need to focus on healing here. Only because of that. You have to be a little careful while opening that patch because whoever opens it gets all of the aggro until everything else actually comes up. And I don't think most people remember that, even on higher level content, or even the higher level players. Just get sucked down here. I'm going to assume that Arcanist is either another healer and is just significantly more cautious, or they're just a DPS who is used to the tank dying in their runs. Because I am keeping an eye on the tank's health, but I do tend to let them run a little lower than half, at least in lower level content, because there isn't really a tank buster in here that would kill anyone. Unless they're just standing in the OJ the entire time, at least. And most things are going to aggro onto me without me trying, just because I'm healing. That's pretty normal. That on. Okay, he's the Mind Blast. Whoops. Meant to put arrow on these two. Seems like it's just on the tank. Definitely need to get my healer shoes back on, though. Feel like it has been a hot minute. Alright, leveling roulette out of the way. Let's see here. Get the rest of the golden saucer stuff done, and then we can go deal with the copper bell mines. Yeah, this is one of the games that I think most people at least have one to their name. That just kind of lets me focus on it and not care about what's happening around me as much. Which I'm perfectly alright with that. Because when it comes to the end of the day, there are times you just kind of want to turn your brain off, but still get success noises going. Which I'd say is relatively normal with people, at the very least. Oh, hey, a bot. There isn't even an actual link in it this time because they ran out of words. Ah. Oh, you're funny. Can't even deal with the .com anymore either. Interesting hiccup. I guess Streamrise is technically something you could add to banned terms. I like that it apologized for its war crimes. Pretty much. But at least if you're coming into a chat going, "Hello, sorry for bothering you. I want to offer promotion of your channel, viewers, followers, views, chatbots, etc. The price is lower than any competitor. The quality is guaranteed to be the best. Flexible and convenient order management panel, chat panel, everything is in your hands. A huge number of custom settings." It honestly just feels like they took the copy and paste and cut out a few things from it because the grammar is broken in a couple places where it really shouldn't be. But they're getting braver. We kind of had a downturn in their usage for a while, but they're probably looking through popular categories with less people actively streaming to try and hook someone. Thankfully, I'm old enough to recognize what a scam is and not old enough to not recognize it anymore. Nothing else that I need to do here. Have I dropped any frames actually since I'm watching Ken? 18. If it's just in double digits, then it's fine. Oh. There we go. Get our cactpot out of the way. Did I give you the guaranteed 10k there? No. There's no angle that would give you the 10k there. You can at least get 1080 off that. Then that's rough. Nope. Yeah, they put the 2 there. If that was just 1 down. Oh well. I believe there are some people who don't necessarily want to show gambling while they're in here. But the scratch ticket is just a scratch ticket. Alrighty. Copperbell Mines is also a dungeon, but doesn't have a huge healing requirement unless the tank is very aggressive. Let's see how that goes. Although I do kind of half wonder... Oh, right, I'm level 25. Yeah, I should go to Grandia first. Should be in Grandia, right? Yeah. May as well get our class quest out of the way. I also like the idea of having to start a class that is primarily focused on nature and then just ending up as guns. The fact that they even gave us Sage is surprising, considering all the options, but I guess they wanted to give one of the characters that class just so that way he stood out from everybody else in the cast, which is fair. The fact that we're getting Viper and Pictomancer, though, I don't actually recall what the painter class is called, but Pictomancer is the best way to really say it since it's just a caster that uses paint. I don't even remember what game had the painter class in it. I know one of them has to have, but it's been quite a hot minute since I've really dug into all the lore for that. But it'll be interesting. We've had the benchmark, so people are excited as to how sexy all their characters look. And now that we've got the Femme Hrothgar, because it's weird that they left the classes. They left some of the classes just be monogendered until a certain, or some of the races rather, be monogendered. Going for this? Going south there. Sure. Keep hearing some creaking. Probably nothing to worry about for the moment, at least. Good. Spicy cotton. What are y'all going over about in Kinstream? Well, the spicy cotton candy would be interesting. It'd be kind of hard to tell apart from just regular cotton candy, with how it's made at the very least. Do I have access to macros yet? I do have access to macros. Guess we can set that up while we're running. Remember how this works though. Do uses actions. Oh, whoops. Right, changing screens. We'll get rid of the macro screen. Pretty sure what I need is that. So here. If we do that, is that what I'm looking for? Yes, okay. You don't necessarily need macros for much, but when you're playing a healer class, it's nice to have a dedicated Swift Cast Raise macro ready. A dedicated oh shit button, more or less. It's also just a chance to add a snarky phrase into your thing, just so that way you can, you know, add some creative flair to it. And considering this character is going to be uh if I remember the coding right. And then for white mage, it's just raise, so let's just do that. I guess this needs to be said in party. Pretty sure /p is enough for party chat, right? Party. Send a message to all members of your current party regardless of location. I make sure this is grammatically correct because people would probably call out I. That should be fine. And And then if I press that, valid target in sort of sting. Shouldn't look for a target just yet. Because it's looking for swift cast first. I'm gonna have to check the actual code on that. Oh, right. But that is roughly just what you need to do. Realistically speaking, a proper oh shit heal button probably would be good too. But I'm not sure if it's worth it to have a dedicated oh shit swift cast AoE heal button. It technically would serve the same purpose, but I haven't found a good usage for that just yet. Not until higher level dungeons where you actively have to worry about that. Alrighty. I'll just put that there just so it's easier in clicking range. Maybe this metal isn't actually hard enough to keep me awake while I'm doing this either. Maybe we should go with that. Just for the utter chaos of having to actually focus more on this. And not as many words, just because this playlist does not have much English in it. There's Sylphie. Hi there, Sylphie. We're close to getting to White Mage, so don't hold me back too much. Oh yeah. And when I do have the option to, at least, I do try to make all of these Lalafels as tall as possible. So size-wise, they may look a little funky when comparing them to the other races. Especially looking at the human children, because the tallest Lalafell adults are functionally 3/4 of a child's height. There. Ah, fine, F you too. Just gonna deal with this, which from what I recall is a collection of the NPCs battling some earth spirits together. I really hope they don't expect us to. Or expect me to heal any of them. Well, it might be a good idea to just get rid of these mud pies first. Yeah, because my damage far outclasses the NPCs. Cool. Uh-oh. They're calling in a bunch of tree spirits. Yeah, it's not good. Silly tree. Not gonna get one over on me, I promise. Although I really hope I don't have to keep the NPC field. That's the one thing I'm always a little bit confused about when it comes to these quests. Because the healers all have damage, it just very much depends on how much damage you can get out. Yeah, it looks like one of them died at some point anyways. Okay, we should be fine. And the Earth Spirit goes down. Okay, cool. That wasn't hard. Then we talk with the child again. Scared of you because I'm technically undergeared for this area. Okay, can I hand that in? Although I am slightly concerned about Izo's end, if only because of the fact that he never responded to me. So I'm not sure if he has any other ways of actually communicating with us outside of a work computer. Well, guess we'll see. Hopefully speaking, everything's good. Going the wrong way. I like turning my brain off for this game just because, as we've discussed in other people's streams, the story is a little bit hard to keep a super hard focus on. And since I know most of what happens anyways, what's going on anyways, I do tend to skip through stuff. Also because I have leveled up most of these job classes before anyways, so I know most of their stories too. I probably should grab these. Display the headgear. Alright, now we can deal with Copperbell mines. And depending on time, we might actually be able to get the White Mage quest done tonight. That might be a good goal. Still going to be nowhere close to getting the Sage. As much as I know how to power level, I can't power level to 70 from 20 in 4 hours. The game's only going to let you be so nice. Hey there, Non. Welcome in. Do hope the evening's treating you alright. Welcome in. How things been going lately? You enjoying life? Okay, computer. That down then. We're just here chilling with our potato garden project. Lost your job again? The studio I joined 4 months ago closed down? Jesus. Sorry to hear, Non. It's a shame that they got closed down already. Well, if I could hire you for anything, I certainly would. Just because the workforce seems to just not be liking your progress lately. But hopefully speaking, you can get another job soon. otherwise doing good. Much less burnt out than I was after the last one. That's unfortunate, but I guess getting used to a situation like that will do that at least. Not much I can really comment on either, just because the work you do is good. Oh, hey, the Marrow. Welcome in. Do hope the evening's running all right. And yep, just a lovely little Popoto. I have a small project going where I'm going to try making a Lalafell dedicated to every single class. So we're just working on the stage right now. Because I need to train my healer skills back up anyway, so I'm going to be doing the White Mage and all of that. Yeah, it's a fairly large project overall. At least when it comes down to it. Because that'll be mean making 4, 9, 13, 16, 19 characters. I'm not really counting Blue Mage, because can't really use that in current content anyways. But yeah, plus Dawn Trail's coming out. I might put a hold on this project for Dawn Trail and just go back to the Reaper that we have through most of Endwalker. Just so that way we can see what the Dawn Trail stuff is like. And then I'll probably just get back to this. Yeah, I mean, in this case, it was kind of inevitable, sadly. I was really excited to work with the folks there, but that just got cut short. Certainly a shame. And I didn't end up running the benchmark, no. I can see people were pretty excited about getting extremely high, though. The fact that they had it labeled as extremely high is still very funny. But it does look like there's a pretty heavy graphical upgrade coming in, so that'll be nice. I don't think it'll matter too much with the Lalafells as much, just because they seem to be getting more defined teeth and slightly clearer skin, but I believe things like the Hrothgar and the Elezen are getting a slightly better buff from it. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some of the hair textures will actually look a little bit better, so some of the Lalas will be a little bit better off. You see the compy that they gave me for work, and it's a pretty significant upgrade for her. Oh, that's good. Clearing the benchmark and got extremely high? Even better then. And Z deserves to get extremely high. It's a very calm way to spend your afternoon as long as you're expecting it. Not dropping frames, but I might need to get rid of Kin's stream just in case. Getting some skips is not good for healing. Do keep in mind, Non, that Canada has slightly less restrictions when it comes down to marijuana. So I'm very used to making that kind of humor. Also, I feel really bad about a Gunbreaker being down in Copperbell. I haven't the faintest goddamn clue what skills they even have here. Oh, does Washington have looser laws too? That's good. There you go. Federal laws notwithstanding. It's always the federal laws, ain't it? Well, even better. I guess speaking of, I guess I might have to deal with being focused a bit harder tonight too. Are you actually going to do this, or what's your plan here, Mint? Looks like we're just going to be running past most of it anyways. No? No, they're going to focus on it? Okay. You'll want to get closer, Archer. There you go. Up. Admittedly, it would be nice if... Oh god, why are you going back? You definitely don't need to go back. You can just avoid these. There's nothing even back here. Come on. Gotta follow your lead, tank. That's your job, it's not mine. Yeah, at least when it comes down to marijuana-based things, I certainly don't mind if it got more legalized pretty much everywhere. It's a medication that can help a lot of people as long as it's done cleanly, so I'm in favor of it. And if there's less of a stigmatism or stigmatism? I don't think that's the right word. But if there's less of a negative viewpoint tied to it, I think that would just be nicer. Because most of the problems just come when other shit is mixed into it. People have been dealing with tobacco for so long, and all it does is just give you happiness with no actual benefit. Why not get something that actually helps you a little bit? Slightly better mouthfeel. That's my slight rant for the day. Nothing fancy. I'm just a bot that enjoys being relaxed is all. Oh, Twitch will warn you specifically about an ad break because mods can see when an ad break is coming up. It gives you the possibility of muting it if there's anything like super important going on is all. So you still won't see the ad, you'll just see that it's coming. Pretty helpful addition, to be quite honest. And it does make it makes modding on like larger channels certainly easier because they'll be able to pay attention to just bigger points that are happening and be like, maybe the freebie viewers should still see this. Sometimes forget you're a mod here. Yeah, the sword does blend in among the various collection that actually exists. But modding isn't super needed here since I can pay attention to most things while I'm going. But in the future, it'll be handy. Because maybe there will be a time when I'm not able to pay attention to my own chat. We'll have to see. Admittedly, one of the best things you can do is just something I'm not doing at the moment, is I do watch other streamers and I do watch other VODs and just how the success of other people go. I'm just not really following through with the main points of what helps a streamer actually grow, which is the additional content on other platforms. Kind of the main thing you'd actually need nowadays. Because Twitch's algorithm ain't gonna fucking help you. Sorry, Daddy Twitch, but you're just not a very supporting boyfriend in this case. We kind of have to look for other avenues to get our kicks in. Yeah, that's an entirely different rabbit hole that we don't need to deal with here. I am still thinking about what I need to do to actually get more people here and chatting and such. Oh, they got it. And I'll figure it out eventually. At this point, it more so just becomes a dance of what do I need to stop doing to make time for that? Oh, whoops, I stole the blasting cap from the gunbreaker. Better catch it, buddy. Although I do kind of half wonder if the shorts meta will be going away anytime soon. I can't imagine it will, just because the current attention span of the human population is mildly low. Not to call you guys out on anything, but there's a reason why when YouTube shorts get popular, that dramatically helps anyone just in general. Okay, they are Akasha's Black Mage. Good to know. Yeah, I'll have to see if there's anything that I could really do with my content that would work in shorts. I don't think there really is, except for the occasional joke, but maybe I could look into those recorded joking things at some point. I've been trying to figure out how to use that video editor I got. Also, this tank is just not taking damage at all during this. I have not had to focus whatsoever. It honestly feels like I'm just playing Scholar. Nope, a little more. There we go. Let's see. More gloves. This is the part that I need to focus on as a healer, though, because it depends on what the tank does. It seems they are going for the half full. No, they're going for full pull. All of this stuff is completely avoidable for anyone paying attention. You don't have to touch it at all. And it gives you maybe 5 more experience than normal. So I guess pick your poison. Because you're actually supposed to go this way. Oh, buddy, there's nothing else over there now. You're literally just pulling the last trash mob to the boss. There you go, you noticed. Probably should look through my gaming catalog a bit as well. Although I guess with the current situation that we've got stream-wise so far, we're functionally having art, Monster Hunter World with buddies, Final Fantasy when I want to fill some time, and art because I should be practicing art. Because with people, or at least Nano specifically, being curious about the characters that I have developed at this point, I'm going to need to work on actively drawing them to make sure their designs are all down pat, aside from Roishin and Runa, since Kin got to design those two. But Zoira, not sure what to call the snake actually, since I kind of stole that name. But Zoira needs a kit. Cecilia is mostly done now. That she is redesigned for the D&D game that she'll be a part of within the next, I want to safely say 5 months. I'm not sure when we're actually starting with that, but oh, get healed instantly. Okay. Good. But there are others that we need to actually flesh out at some point. May as well do the Gunbreaker. I don't need those. But there are the people that would be either antagonistic or allies as a part of Zoida's tale. There's the Nightmare Centaur that I need to design for Uruna. Jude technically would have allies as well, now that I'm realizing it. So I do need to develop the actual tech priest at some point. And while I'm giving them a basic nomenclature for it, I have an idea for her that it could work, and I'm just trying my best to not mimic the design of another character that kind of fits the same bill that I'm trying to write. Because I'd imagine the tech priests, I'm going to be slightly yoinking the idea from Warhammer 40k, but it's kind of hard not to when you're thinking of a religion based on technology. But the idea of the followers of the church augmenting themselves to be less flesh, because I like that phrasing of the flesh is weak, but machine is powerful. Makes a lot of sense in my head, at least. And I mean, why can't you fight that? Clearly, metal is the best way possible. But I'll probably change it up slightly. But I like the idea of the head pope slash priest of the religion for the town that Jude and them are in to be one of the augmented ones. Not everyone has to be augmented, because A, it'd be expensive as all fuck if anyone was actually going down that pathway, and you just need one representative, right? Oops. And then there's a couple other characters that I need to redesign as well. I'm kind of merging one of my older characters in with Cecilia, so the old pyromancer I had is functionally dead now. But I could make them a compatriot of Zoida's group to some degree. Because Cecilia does not act like the original pyromancer character I had. Not at all. Cecilia is a very happy-go-lucky Drider who just is a nice person and was only kicked out of the Drow group that she was a part of because she went against the doctrines of their religious order, but not necessarily in an evil manner. Because I'd imagine that the doctrines of Lolth are not the kindest. Oh, whoops. They're not the kindest to people us outside of the Dark Elves. I'd imagine there'd be some fighting as to whether or not you could actually save people from other races or not by the common standard. But the Underdark is usually filled with a bunch of races anyway, so I might need to do a bit of a proper look into that to see if someone who's just too nice can get kicked out of the Drow Order. I find that'd be fun. Sorry, Ime. The housing market is a very fickle thing. and only meant for adventurers, because NPCs wouldn't be able to afford any of the houses. How high the inflation is. See, that's 28. Yeah, we'll definitely hit White Mage by tonight. But this is a character that's going to be on my docket for a bit anyways. But this one's going to be a White Mage till 70, and then I'll grab Sage, and then I'll work on the other ones. Who's the other one that I'm working on? The Scholar is at least at Scholar, so that's fine for the moment. I think everyone's at least at their desired class at the moment. So I could technically work on the other two healers with another White Mage and then an Astrologian. The White Mage would be the easiest of the two since I just have to get to level 30. You basically have to clear ARR to get access to Astrologian. Oot. So that will be another White Mage to carry through to Praetorium. That's alright though. A lot to do on this project, but this is a project I'm just doing in my spare time anyways, so that's fine. Oh, he didn't immediately die from a rock. Okay, hold up. I'll throw another. This guy's just trying to punch me, and I just keep hucking rocks at him, and yet I'm somehow winning, being the small man with a stick. Come on, filthy bodyguard. I'm just the tallest Lalafell possible with a stick, and I'm hucking rocks at you. I feel you can do a little better than this. Oh well. Worth mentioning, we will be going the usual 4 hours for this one. So we'll end around 11 p.m. my time. So in about a little less than 3 hours. Oh. Going to here. We'll still have plenty of time to at least get the White Mage quest done and make sure we have our fancy job crystal. And to stop getting wands. Because they realized at some point that the one-handed weapons were just kind of pointless for the healers, so... Dude, they stopped giving you them unless they were looking to be special for some reason. Vesper? Don't think I've gone to Vesper Bay yet, have I? Hello. You have anything? No, just Horizon. Okay. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about that. Oh yeah, Solace. Don't forget to check your sanity, by the way. I know that you're partially focused on Kinstream, probably less the moment, but since we're getting event currency and we need to get a lot of event currency to actually get all the rewards from it, we're definitely going to need to keep on top of it this time. What are you running for it, by the way? Are you just running the farm stages for now? Because I'd imagine you've done Chapter 12 in the past. but I'm not sure if you have the time to really work on Chapter 13 now that it's out. Yeah, I kind of figured. Have you tried pulling for Mr. Hoedown, or all you can do is auto through the week? Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing too. Tuesday and Wednesday, I have been focusing on it a little bit more, just because I'm in desperate need to get the skill books. And then on other days, I'm just trying to... Oh, damn, you had to go 130 into it? I think I went into... I think I went 80 in, but I still never ended up getting him. I just got a copy of Mizuki, and then an infinite amount of the 4-star. Because they've at least boosted his rates a little bit. But I'm curious as to what the benefit will be with a 4-star Dull Keeper after we've gotten 2 6-stars. Or at least a 6-star and a 5-star. From that 130, I managed to get like 20 of the 4-star. Yeah. I think from my 60 to 80 pulls, I got maybe 6 to 8 of them. Oh, hey, I got the 5-star. I forgot that there was an actual introduced 5-star in this. Whoops. Also, yes, I am just multitasking ever so slightly by checking my Arcanite stuff while I'm doing this. If it's not super obvious, doing in-between quests for Final Fantasy XIV does not require a lot of your attention. Oh, that's a copy of Lee. I don't even have Lee built yet. Come on, game. I think the 4-star and the 5 have limited use, but the 6-star is about as good as a Crusher will probably get. Yeah. The Crusher in and of itself... Hold on. This is a fun mount, by the way. I'm pretty sure this is extreme raid level content. But in terms of the Crushers, we're going to have a fairly hard time. Oh. Okay, that was dupe. I got a Harmony dupe. I wasn't actually sure if I had Harmony. But the Crusher in and of itself is going to be a hard subclass to make like a super good unit for, considering they just have no defense whatsoever. And you're expected to have them in the front lines just beating people's faces in. It's a hard sell, to say the least. Damn. I am not getting very lucky with the pulls. I'm getting plenty of copies of Kafka. I'm not sure why Kafka specifically is boosted on this, but out of a majority of my pulls, Kafka's been the most. Oh, hey, it's the Rathalos mount. Hello, Monster Hunter fan. I guess we did get a little bit of Monster Hunter in tonight, too. And they're a Sprout, too. Look at that. Hi, Tataru. Tataru is a very... Fuck's sakes. It really does not want to give me Hoderer. Oh. Okay. It's at least telling me my pity will be Hoderer when I actually hit it. But I've burned a lot of currency on this. Any of these gloves good? No. Well, there's a 6-star, so game has promised that it's Hoder. Cool. I think I had to go really hard into that. Still got enough for about 200 pulls, though. That's fine. But yikes, I think I did have to go about 150 into that too. That is bad. I'm gonna have to look into maybe buying a couple of the extra packs. Now, what is this 5-star? Is this one of the Harmacists? It is a Harmacist. Okay. Get them up to E1. Vendetta. Admittedly cute. And for the people playing Cat Knights, that should help them out a little bit. At least if they can utilize a Harm Assist well. I'll admit, with only having Hibiscus Altar... Is Hibiscus Altar the only Harm Assist we actually have right now? Or does Reed Altar also count? I honestly forget her subtype a lot. Cool, I have enough to E1 Hoder as well. Hoderer. Reed Altar is in Harm Assist too? Okay. So Hibiscus Altar is the 5-star altar for Harm Assist. Reed Altar is the 6-star Harm Assist. And then we're given a 5-star in the normal as well. I wonder if they're going to actively try to give us a 4-star Harm Assist at some point as well, just to fill in the same thing. Like, people keep calling him Gavial's son, but I honestly have to double check to see what the actual relation is. Oh. I guess conveniently, this did give me my last pot for Gnosis. Verdant? Yeah. I've seen some posts saying Verdant is just Gavial's child, or Gavial's brother, or something along those lines. Which, I mean, I can't fault them. She does look, or they do look pretty similar to Gavial. Okay. I've got enough to run the skill map 3 times. I'm in a slightly similar situation as you, if only because of the fact that I'm still working on Chapter 11. So I kind of need the weekend just to have enough time to actually get through the end of Chapter 11, the entirety of Chapter 12, and then I can start Chapter 13. So I'll definitely have enough points at least when it comes down to it, but... oh boy, I've got a lot of story stages to get through. I am at least up to, I think, 11-14 on maps right now, with primarily stable autos on them, so not a huge harm, but do need to get that last little chunk of the chapter 11 out, because I think 11 goes up to 20 stages, right? At least that's what the charter seems to indicate. So I've got 6 more stages in chapter 11 to do. I think 17 stages in chapter 12. And then just whatever's in 13. Honestly, stage 11 has been a little bit funky as is, just with the mass amount of stuff they're throwing at you. So I've had to learn to actually follow the mass amount of things they throw at you and the nuke that drops on whoever has highest block. That's been an interesting one because I like filling defenders in for slots where possible, but with that mechanic, it does not necessarily like you slotting in defenders. I was more so throwing in the 1 and 2 block guys just because there were mobs that would. The gimmick for 11 was irritating, but figure out how to manipulate the nuke made it trivial. Yeah. You just use the nuke to clear the map? Pretty much, yeah. The strategy that I found the most helpful for it was Elsit and Monster, just because a max level Mastery 3, Skill 3 monster can survive the nuke. And I'd imagine other defenders like Mudrock may be able to survive the nuke as well, from what I recall. Just because her shield can eat a healthy chunk of it. Actually, am I in chapter 11 or am I at the start of chapter 12? Nuke will try to hit the most block possible, not exactly the highest block? No? Oh, yeah, because when ties happen, it'll just pick someone. Because I found when I had 2 block 3s on the field, it would swap between monster and just the defender at the time, usually focusing on the defender. Didn't like focusing on monster unless he was just above everyone else. You have 2 block operators near each other that'll hit that instead of 5 block. I get. Oh, it takes the range into account and totals it. Oh, that causes a lot more problems. Okay. Okay, yeah, I am still in chapter 11. I was wrong. I'm on 11:15 at the moment. I think I took a look at the map and realized that the standard one at least has 5 of those evil trees on it. And kind of just said, nope, I'm too tired for that nonsense. Although, I think my traditional... Actually, no, my traditional method only works for half of them. Because what I've been doing with the trees in chapter 11 is I 6 Surtur on them early enough into the stage so that they don't have much defenses yet. And Surtur skill 3 is enough to deal with the trees relatively easily on her own. As well as Exusai, I believe I was using too, because skill 3 Exusai, even without masteries, was enough to deal with the trees before they became a problem. But that setup for 11:15 doesn't condone that very well. Especially with needing to actually deal with the rest of the units on the map. So I'll have to take a look to see what I can actually do with that. Because I don't really like leaving the trees for the end. I'd prefer to get the trees out early where possible. Although I'm hesitant to look up guides on it because the guides for Chapter 11 have all left the trees for the very end, and I've just been trying to find ways to deal with them normally, or at least in the middle of the stage. I could see about maybe getting Typhon instead of Exucide to deal with them. That might be a possibility. I don't know. We'll see. When I give myself some time, I'll look at the rest of the Chapter 11 maps. Get that knocked out, so that way I can focus on Chapter 12. Oh, nice. There's someone here already distracting those frogs. Good luck, buddy. Although I do think my mental map when it comes to Arknights has at least been developing a little bit. Just because I've been looking at some stages and realizing some of them can be done with Archer Knights or Defender Knights relatively easily. Not the nuke ones, but a couple stages have been Archer Knights friendly, and then another couple have been Defender Knights just because there's more ground tiles to work with. You just have to be a little careful about deployment order because the defenders you need out for actually killing things are very expensive. None of the low-cost defenders are very cheap aside from Liskarm. I think Liskarm is like 17 cost, if I'm remembering things right. But what I've been looking at least general viability-wise, I've been looking at stages for Archer Knights that you can get Beanstalk and Black Knight out in fairly early on, just so that way you can get your DP generation up, and then just slotting in archers as necessary. Having Typhon now has made some stages significantly easier to actually make Archer Knights viable, because one of the main downsides is that you don't have many Archer Knights that can deal with big targets very well. You've got Schwartz who can, Meteor helps, but that's really about it. I guess technically Meteor and Meteorite count, because Meteorite's just an AoE crossbowman that can lower defense too. But you need some answers for heavies, and Archer Knights doesn't have a lot. Now that I have Typhon, though, that has made those stages a lot easier to deal with. And then when it comes to making maps available with Defender Knights, I kind of have to rely on being able to get Spot and Cardigan out early just to hold the line, to give me enough time to get Fire Whistle and Horn out, or Roberta, depending on just how much damage you actually need. And then while the stage progresses, swapping out Spot and Cardigan for Hoshi, Saria, Liskarm, Asbestos, those kinds of guys. She's great for a lot of stages. She is. That's why when you're doing a niche, you try to not rely on the 6 stars too much, because you want to use your general lower class guys where possible. But Typhon does help cover a couple of answers just when you can't get past something, so that's helpful. Because at least when it comes down to Archer Knights, who are the units I usually have to focus on? Beanstalk and Black Knight are the two main ones, because when you have availability for DP generation, you take it. So with me limiting myself to functionally all snipers, having at least those two specific, what's the tactician? That's it. Having those two tacticians helps a lot, because that at least gives you a ground unit, as well as DP generation, which are two of the main problems I have with picking that archetype. Or picking that niche, rather. But there will be an answer for the ground portion of that coming up soon with newest member of the Ursus Academy crew. I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but Leto or something like that. I believe she's a Lord Guard who uses both a crossbow and a sword, but my ruling was just they have to use a crossbow. I didn't have to say they only have to use a crossbow. So Leto will be very usable in my niche, because she'll be the only proper ground unit I have. I'm not sure how strong she will be. I don't think that will matter as much. I'm having her mainly there as a blocker of smaller guys, and just hoping to God that she's not stupidly expensive. Yeah, let's see. The lower tier units that I usually look for usage on first. There aren't actually too many of the lower tier snipers, but Bruce and Adnakiel are two obvious ones, I think, being the 3 stars. Catapult, I believe, also counts just because she has a crossbow, technically, even though it's a grenade launcher, but it's just in the form of a crossbow. The 4-star branch that you have to deal with be Acid Drop, Totter, Meteor, Vermile, and Beanstalk. While not a bad selection of 4 stars to deal with, Totter is required, if only because he's the only thing that lets you deal with invisible enemies. Well, that and the tacticians, but the tacticians only have 1 block, except for Beanstalk, who technically can have 5 if planned correctly. So Totter is literally your only option for dealing with invisible enemies. For now, at least. If they give us an archer, another archer who can deal with invisible, that's perfect, but... Well, actually, that's kind of what Leto's going to be for at the end of the day. Because Leto will be able to sit in the ground on pathways where invisible enemies will be. She'll be able to at least block them and shoot them down, and kind of work in tandem with Totter, so that way they can take them down relatively easily. Yeah, that's really the only reason I paid attention to Totter. A 4-star Besieger didn't really seem that helpful, but since he's the only one of the snipers that can deal with invisible enemies naturally, he gets a little bit of a bump in popularity when it comes to my map usage. A lot of the 5-star archers are pretty good, though. I can find uses for a majority of them. Let's see, who are the bigger ones that I tend to use? Luna Cub, I think, is the most used 5-star I have since I've practiced Archer Knight stuff. Just because of the fact you can place her literally anywhere without her getting shot down immediately is a very, very big help. And then we've already kind of discussed Meteorite. Better what I'm wearing. Getting to that point. The brand new equipment for this tends to last you until about level 20. Let's see, Meteorite is a good 5-star for general usage cases. Meteorite has a few use cases where Meteor is not as helpful, just because AoE splash defense drop on command can have good uses for you. Oh, whoops. I'm supposed to go this way. Yeah, when you're dealing with niche knight stuff, it is going to require a little bit more planning than usual. If only because of the fact that you're forcibly ankling yourself with quite the heavy burden. But that's fine. I'm also realizing that there's a slight break in my favorite system because I added Cold Shot to my favorites, even though she's not using a bow at all. I'm not even sure what you would call her weapon. It looks like a pulse rifle, but it's treated like a shotgun. I still have enough sanity to do one more run on the skill map. I'm gonna need that now. Here's 2 new people I need to skill up to 7. Oh yeah, Kin still has a couple hours to go, don't they? Because they've extended their stream time. They're going 6 hours now? The streams last till about 10 p.m. our time. It does give Kin a good amount of time to work with, so I cannot fault them for taking the path. Does my model actually look right now? I feel like I've been wiggling a lot. Okay, no, we're still fine. I've dropped a couple more frames as well. It shouldn't be enough to actively disturb anyone's viewpoint, but oh well. There's still a good amount you need to learn when you're dealing with streaming stuff, so I'll learn it all eventually. Oh. And okay, just delete. Else I need to get rid of? Oh, that's how you do. Okay. That's good enough. Hey there, Nano. Welcome in. Do hope the evening's treating you all right. And welcome to the cabin. How goes your homework? Decent progress is good. I'm aware you're probably under NDA, so you can't share anything until the final progress is done, if at all. But certainly wishing you the best of luck with it. May the rabbits be hopping with joy. Yeah, they're keeping me on a tight leash. Yeah, I can imagine. When it comes to a studio project like that, it's not really something you can share information on without causing mistrust within your team. Which, fair. You gotta make sure you can actually trust people to, stick to the project and not cause any problems. But wishing you an NDA-focused bit of luck. Cute little patat. They are a young patat right now. A young male patat, but it's not very obvious with the way that they look. Unfortunately, the only obvious way of telling what gender the patats are is by voice. Because visually speaking, there's not much difference. No, this one's a white mage right now. But they'll eventually be upgrading to Sage, so they will be a healer with guns. Which still isn't quite Black Mage, but magic and guns. I'll actually be going for the White Mage quest soon. We just need to get one more level in. Interesting. They have smaller hitbox? No. I don't believe Lalafels have a smaller hitbox anymore. I believe that was something that was addressed in the past, but all of the player hitboxes should be the same? Should. Otherwise, PvP would be a little bit unfair. Okay, there's all my daily missions done. Oh yeah, Solace. For Arknights, have you been seeing that this event is giving us additional potions as long as we're spending sanity? Not you. Where? Over here. Type does that, it's great. Yeah. Dude. Oh, sorry, Than. Yeah, in terms of Final Fantasy stuff, Nano, this is still our continuation of the Make a Potato Every Class job, or class project. This one will end up being one of the classes that was released during the, at least currently, latest expansion. I have to get them up to level 70 before I can actually get their job change in. Oh, right, I have to dress up as a... That is the pence. You basically have to get to a level that's comparable to the end of Stormblood before you're able to get the job classes from Shadowbringers. They thankfully don't require you to get to the expansion for the most part when you're getting the additional job unlocks. The only ones that you get kind of landlocked out of are Machinist Dark Knight and Astrologian. Because technically speaking, you can get those classes at level 30. But you need to get to a town that's only unlocked after you finish the main campaign from ARR. So you're generally level 50 before you can even look at getting them. It's a slight design flaw, personally speaking. And I think they realized this because every other job since then has been released in the main towns, and you just have to be the level to unlock them. I used to play this game even for a bit. It was way back when they gave out the game until Heavenward. Yeah, Heavensward was the first expansion? ARR, Heavensward, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, I think. Yeah, because you would have been able to go up from 50 to 60 during that time in the free trial. I believe they have expanded it a bit, so if you are on a trial basis, you can play through Stormblood now for free. Which means you get to go to Kugane, because that's locked out of you until you get through a good portion of Stormblood. But it's not a bad deal for them. They get a lot of people in to play this, and then eventually get them to start playing, or paying, rather. I heard the boss raids are nice. I've only experienced raiding in Terra. Yeah, usually speaking, the fights in 14 are generally good. I know there's a couple that people have problems with, like the math boss and the near raids are certainly difficult, but the near raids are kind of meant to be difficult. It's emulating a difficult game. But yeah, common content is usually pretty good. Extreme content is good if you're up for the challenge. And then specific fights are a little bit iffy, but they're mostly well liked, I find. There's a bit of oversaturation for the Crystal Tower Alliance raids, but that's just because of how they changed the system up a bit, where it was basically required that you had to play those. Not all Alliance raids are required, just those ones. Which isn't the worst thing in the world, mind you, but it is a smidge annoying when you get to that point. Go back to the walking... I didn't get the crystal while I was there. You dumb little potato. Not even supposed to be the dumb one. My first character was also a funny potato. Well, you're welcome to join us in the Potato Brigade. Lalafells do kind of have a weird stickling point to them, just because out of the fantasy races that we do have, being human, taller human, human with pointy ears, cat, well, cat girl, we are going to have both proper cats soon, between cat girl and furry. Yeah, the Lalafell are supposed to be the short race, or the dwarven slash gnomus race in general. Most of the Lalafell NPCs that you'll find are undeniably crafty assholes. So Well, except for a couple, but a lot of them are either snarky or just weirdly intelligent. I heard they nerfed the Makote Fangs. I haven't actually checked, but it's entirely possible. Did they nerf them in the... Did they nerf them in the benchmark? Because I can definitely see that. They're doing a lot of graphical improvements during that, so filing down the teeth so that way the female Hrothgars actually look a bit more in place. Okay, yeah. If they're doing it in the benchmark, then it's more than likely they're just doing it during the graphical upgrades. I guess it's not the worst thing in the world. As a cat girl, you do at least have the ears and the tail, so it's kind of enough to denote you as a cat anyways. And most Lalafels are black mages. That's just because of the Thaumaturgy Guild is only ran by the Lalafell. There's like 6 Lalafell brothers that work within the Thaumaturgy Guild. And then once you get to Black Mage, your teacher for that is also 2 Lalafells. The only other classes that I recall that actually focus on using Lalafells as the main NPC for it is Scholar? And I think that's it. And the Scholar's not even a teacher, or the quote-unquote teacher for Scholar isn't even a scholar himself. He's literally just a studious warrior who's looking into an old tablet he found. So the real scholar teacher is literally yourself finding shit. He's not doing anything but just pointing you in the direction as to where your study materials are. Yeah, but the teeth... The teeth are very important. I'm aware that you have to do an uwu nom as a cat girl. I'm aware as someone who has a singular cat girl myself. Although I never really paid attention to the fangs as much, so I'm definitely missing out on something. There we go. But if they've nerfed them in the benchmark, I guess that means that they're trying to focus on the Hrothgars as being the more ferocious cats. Welcome in, Mugen. Do hope everything's going all right, and welcome in. Why do people usually have Lalafells smiting stuff with dark magic? Oh, usually speaking, Lalafells are dark mages because the main teacher for dark magic is Lalafell, both for the starting job and for the class for black mage that you unlock. All the teachers up through ARR, Lalafell, and then I don't remember the black mage quests enough because that was 3 years ago or so. But Lalafells are very heavily combined with the black mage stuff. And since ARR takes up a portion of most people's sanity limits, you tend to remember the ARR teachers over the other ones, unless you get something very fancy like the Dark Knight teacher. Because they just have someone very dedicated writing the Dark Knight plot, and the Dark Knight plot is very good. I see, it does make sense since they don't look like they have any physical prowess. Yeah. All good, hope the stream's treating you well too. Well, thank you. So far things are going alright. I probably should take a break just because we're at the 2-hour mark. But let me just get to the waking sands. And then we'll take just a quick little break there. Just that way I can stretch my neck and all that. Looking at what others have said, it seems only the female keepers of the moon that have... Oh. That's literally what I have. Maybe it's an oversight? Possibly, yeah. Because you think Keepers of the Moon would, keep the fangs. If they're meant to be the more ferocious ones at the end of the day. But I don't know. If it is just the benchmark, maybe we'll see an addition once Dawn Trail actually drops, and maybe the Keepers of the Moon will actually be able to keep their teeth. Yeah, tonight we're just kind of doing some idle chatter while I'm working on my potato project. This character, at least, will end up being a sage. That's why I have Gunna as the subtext for the Lalafell name this time, because this Lalafell is going to have multiple guns. Although I guess that's technically pronounced Guna because of the double syllable thing, but it could be Gunna as well. Becoming wise. As for the Lalfells and their magic, it goes back to Taru and FF11. I don't know the full lore, but apparently they started a war with the magic. Good job, Taru. Always causing chaos, whatever universe you're actually in. I can't say I've actually played 11. I was kind of just brought into 14 by some friends and never touched the other Final Fantasy MMO. But if memory serves, that the 11 servers are still running just fine, so maybe that's something we could look into for a slightly more ancient game than this. Yeah, still getting content too. It's kind of amazing that Squeenix just has two MMO-based teams working on them. Not the worst thing in the world. I can only imagine how stretch it would be if it was the same team, but... Ow. Yeah, right. I said I was going to take a break to actually properly stretch out and such. Yeah, we're at an 8th, right? Okay. I'll be back in like 5 to 10-ish minutes or so just to stretch. Make sure you do the same. Maybe grab water if you haven't for a bit. I just need to take care of my body because holy shit, I am a weak motherfucker. But I'll be back in a bit. I'll just turn the music up a smidge while I'm gone, so hopefully you can enjoy that in the meantime. Alrighty. Hello again, all. Hopefully the music didn't cause you to freak out too much. Let's turn it back down a smidge. Alrighty. Yeah, thank you, Mugen. Definitely don't need the offline color mixing with the main purple. Yeah, in terms of previous designs, having the Rogadins with dinosaur features would have been nicer, not gonna lie. Because I feel like the Rogadins aren't played a lot, conceptually. But since it is one of the starting races, and not everyone is obsessed with muscle, it does get a little bit of a worse rap as compared to just being default human, or a cat, or a rabbit. It is nice finding a Rogadin player out in the wild, though. Because the male Rogadin kind of just get overwritten by the Hrothgar, and then the Femros get taken over by the Elezen. Especially if we're looking at traditional Rogadin names. I'm not sure what the naming scheme is for that, but I've seen it before, and it is a little bit nasty naming a proper Rogadin character. It'd be tempting to take that out. Not with this guy, though. Oh, I guess while I'm doing these running things, I probably should set these up, shouldn't I? Let's see here. That's alright. So... that is the right direction. I just defaulted to the fantasy name generator for mine, ended up with Snowy Mountain. Certainly not a bad name. It's a shame that wasn't the Rogadin naming scheme, though. Because the Rogadin naming scheme is... Admittedly, it looks like gibberish, I'm not gonna lie. They like using X's in random places, and they don't like using a lot of vowels. Yeah, having polka dot is fine. That's fine. That's fine, actually. Oh, you can overwrite that. Interesting. You can overwrite it super hard, apparently. New play style, roleplay, leveling, botany fishing, dungeons. Cool. Is that one done? Gotta deal with that. Forgot that you have to do that first. Not laugh. Chuckle? Yeah. Yep. This character is probably going to be, at least character base wise, one of the more evil characters, so having the purple background is handy because it makes people question what their intentions are, which is the idea. Oh, whoops. Right, you're not supposed to come down here. You're supposed to go across the bridge. Shoot. What else is there to go over when it comes to 14? I guess just to make sure it's explained properly for the mod, I have a potato project going where I'm trying to make one Lalafell for each dedicated class, except for Blue Mage. Right now, I'd say we're about a third of the way done having the characters made, at least. Not all of them are caught up to content. But we've at least got a samurai, a black mage, a ninja, a reaper, a scholar, a bard, a warrior, and a dark knight. Is that 919? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, okay, 919. That's not too bad. I think the Reaper potato is the most caught up so far, because I at least finished Endwalker with him. So content-wise, all of these guys still need to be brought up. For the moment, at least, I'm just trying to get them to their job, and then we'll start progressing them all through the plot. Some of them that will be easier than others, because some of them only need to get to level 30. This is partly why I'm doing this potato now, just to get Sage out of the way, since this one will take a bit to get to 70. I'll probably have to focus on Gunbreaker next, because getting to level 60 isn't exactly a small task either. Thank you, Mugen. It's a silly idea, but I just kind of want to make a physical spread of characters that are all dressed up in proper glamour eventually. And just have it posted somewhere. Be like, hey, I was silly enough to make 19 potatoes in Final Fantasy XIV. Are you that crazy? But we'll see. I would like to do this project. It is just a good excuse for me to replay this without having to focus too much on it. Because the plot isn't super interesting when you're rereading it over and over and over again, unfortunately. But I enjoy playing it, and that's what matters the most. First instance of Ifrit. Okay. This is fine. But I did at least go over with this project what state the characters are actually in at the moment. The Warrior and Dark Knight are both 75. The Black Mage is 80. The Reaper is 90. So those guys are relatively far in. I think the Warrior is near the end of Stormblood and the Dark Knight is near the start of Stormblood. Or they might be in the middle of it. It's been a bit, so I don't actually remember. The Black Knight, or the Black Mage, is in Shadowbringers content, and the Reaper is at the end of Endwalker. Everyone else is still pretty much early ARR, or just post-ARR Heavensward. With, I think, the Bard being either at the end of Heavensward, beginning of Stormblood, or in the middle of Heavensward. But I've done a decent amount of progress, at least on the beginning 9, so I'm dedicated to the project. It's still going to take me a while, but it's not going to be quite as bad as someone trying to work on every single achievement in this game. Because I don't even pay attention to the achievements personally, but what is the button for achievements? Oh, it's there. But at least when it comes to Final Fantasy XIV achievements, current area, there are multiple tabs. There is a pretty healthy score you have to hit. And I'm not sure if all of the content is even possible anymore. I probably should get this mount, now that I'm thinking about it. Because I like the idea of the Demiosma mount just being an orb that you sit on top of. It'd work well for a couple of potential glamour shots as well. I'll have to look into that. That might still be possible, but not 100% certain. But I shouldn't get too distracted by achievement stuff. For now, I'm going to at least focus on getting every one of these potatoes into their respective jobs. Then for all of the ARR-based classes, I'll actually get them past Praetorium and get them into Heavensward first. Then we can catch up the ARR and Heavensward classes with Machinist, Astrologian being the two that I haven't made just yet. But those guys are functionally unlocked at the end of ARR. So you have to get through ARR, get into Ishgard, get those classes, they start at level 30, then you have to re-level them up to 50 to make them usable in the current content. Dude. The main oversight, at least, when it comes to those Ishgardian classes, but it's what they did. So no one can stop them, and they have not updated it yet, so that way you could unlock them in the 3 main towns. Because their stories are just too intertwined to Ishgard. But it'd be interesting if you could actually unlock them in the 3 main city-states. Where would they even put them? You know what? Thought experiment idea. Where would they put the 3 Ishgardian classes in the 3 cities? Because Dark Knight is very heavily tied to the idea of the foundations of the military going against your rights as a Dark Knight because you're evil and you draw upon the darkest of magics in your soul to make sure all your abilities are as edgy as humanly possible. But what's with a Cookie Run gif? Someone recognized it. It's one of the gifs that I've made in the past that I just use as a chat blocker. Just because when you're streaming MMOs, it's usually a good idea to not have the chat be visible. And that was just a good size, and admittedly works the best with my layout. That, and it's just nice to use old work where possible. Yeah, traditionally speaking, this character doesn't have the eyebrow wiggle anywhere. That was just me being silly with it. And I made this years ago. Do I still have Cookie Run downloaded on my phone? I don't think I do. Yeah, no, I don't. I probably should see if I can get back into it at some point as a better mind empty success noise game. Curious why I had the chat if you don't mind me asking. Because in MMOs, people can say whatever they'd like, and not every single MMO chat has a censor that would work well for blocking any racist, terrorist, or any kind of speech that you shouldn't be showing on your stream to begin with. It's kind of just a catch-all of streaming and video content creation to avoid getting the bonk stick hitting you with the potential for just someone else saying some random shit in chat. And it's not like I have it disabled or anything, like it is just right here, but I just keep it visible for me, just in case. Well, I keep it visible for me to actually look at party chat and see what people are talking about. But the general consensus, at least, is you want to hide your chat while you're streaming or video producing. Because the internet says some wild shit. There you are. I assume 14's pretty tame, but I get what I did anyways. Yeah. Thankfully, when it comes down to it, this potato project does limit the one thing that I would actively need to hide from chat, which is the 18 plus roleplay stuff. Both is a potential blessing and a curse. For most of the 18 plus roleplay things, Lalafels are not always allowed. Some people will actively keep them away unless it's just based on violence for 18 plus. Which, fair, they're like 3 feet tall. Never underestimate uncontrolled online interactions. Exactly. The internet is a dangerous place for an innocent person's mind, and Twitch and YouTube do not necessarily like the fact that people can say whatever they'd like in an MMO. I should actually see. During the next cutscene, I'll probably just let it play, but I'm curious if people actually stream Cookie Run. I definitely wouldn't, but I'm just idly curious. Definitely not looking for Cookie Run Kingdom. Doesn't look like anyone's streaming Oven Break right now. It is still a streamed category. Certainly not the most common. And it looks like Cookie Run Kingdom also does not get a lot of traffic on here. Noted. So yeah, I wouldn't stream them anyways, because they're just, one's an auto runner and the other's an auto runner with extra steps. Yeah, you can skip cutscenes. I was just using that as a chance to double check what Twitch is. Or on Twitch, what the traffic of Cookie Run actually is. But since this is a simple story quest, I at least wanted to give myself a bit of time just to get this question in the back of my brain answered. Yeah, you're the actual problem. We deal with you last. Thankfully, this part's not super hard, and that Flame Pugilist's life does not matter. I don't think, at least. Then the next wave will spawn. Oh, I've got a single target sleep? Okay. Yeah, it's not like the Black Mage sleep that puts an area to sleep. That's okay. I'm just going to get rid of you. Good. Look at him go. Yeah. Thankfully speaking, this quest is tuned pretty well, just so that way it's hard to lose unless you're just not paying attention for like 5 minutes straight. So even as a healer, where your DPS is slightly lower, you can still do this just fine without any problems. Yeah, and then the cutscene. Healer doesn't look that exciting, if I am to be honest. Oh, this is also super low level content, Nano. None of the classes look interesting at this level. I can promise you that. This is early enough in the game where you only have like 6 buttons to press right now, and none of it is super flashy. So until you get to like the level 50 mark, that's when things start getting exciting. Both in general and as a healer. The benefit, at least, of being a healer is that your Qs are normally quick. So that's fine. If we were on DPS, that Q would take us like 6 to 10 minutes. On healer, it's usually less than 1. Yeah, even this part won't be super exciting. Ifrit is pretty simple on normal mode, at least. So it's mostly just the tank needing to have Ifrit pointed away from everybody, just because they've got a little flamethrower breath they've got to deal with. As a healer, my job is just to help with the DPS and keep an eye out for the I guess, scholar or the summoner in this case, because those explosions can pop. And if they stand in them for too long, they'll just get burst. But there's not much healing you even need to do here, just because of how they changed the numbers for Realm Reborn stuff. It's kind of hard for people to actively die during this. Unless I just ignore everything and they are also not hitting any of their buttons. So my job here is to functionally just keep an eye on things and murder until I can murder no longer. As well as heal here, technically. Scholar not in range? I guess Medica's range is a little bit smaller, so I'm going to have to keep that in mind. Oot. Oh, right. Because I'm playing healer, I'm also probably going to be getting a lot more commendations than I would on any other class. So I'll actually be getting some slight EXP boosts and some of the achievements out of the way a little earlier on this character. And just in general on the 4 healers. It should show here. Yeah, I'm already up to 7, and I've only done like 4 dungeons. So I've been getting a comm every single time I run one, basically. There's nothing super fancy that comes from getting commendations. There is one specific mount you can get after getting, I think, 500. But it's nothing super fancy. Yeah, at least when it comes down to it, Nano. Most of the ARR content is going to be fairly lackluster. It won't be until we get into the end of Realm Reborn content and into the start of Heavensward when things actually require a decent amount of thought. Not a lot, but a decent amount. Granted, we're playing healer, so we need to think a little bit more anyways. So if you're playing DPS classes, it's not super exciting until you get to the end of ARR. Personally, at least. So Heavensward is when things kick up. Makes sense they would stop the trial there. Pretty much, yeah. The trial itself did extend out to Stormblood, one now that we've got Shadowbringers and Endwalker out. So people would get through ARR after like 2 weeks or so. Then they would kind of push through Heavensward, and then get into Stormblood so you can go to Japan. Good old fantasy Japan. Fantasy Japan that has one of the most notorious jumping puzzles possible in it as well. But it is a jumping puzzle worth your time, because it teaches you a good amount, at least, when it comes down to what you should be paying attention to. When it comes to figuring out all those points and advantages and all that. Oh, we're about to get our mount, so that's good. It means I can stop running everywhere. Gonna go talk with our potato friend, then see the tribunals. I'm trying to think. Are there any of the guilds that would help me out with being a healer? I don't think it matters much, to be honest. Actually, since we just need to go to Ul'dah anyways. Hello, taxi service. May I please hire a Choco taxi? There we go. Finishing up Road Trader, you're on the final mission. Very nice. I probably should keep an eye out for a sale on that, shouldn't I? Oh god, yeah, that would require a sale. Don't quite feel like tossing out 65 bucks for that immediately. I'm gonna assume it's a... Yeah, it is tabletop. Okay. Makes sense. I think it's better than both the Pathfinder games, in my opinion. And yet it costs about the same as buying both of the Pathfinder games. Yeah, at least when it comes down to any of the Warhammer games, you just have to be careful because Games Workshop, as a company, tends to not pay very close attention to when their games are made. So more often than not, you will either find a lot of misses, but the good ones will at least float up to the top. Because I know things like Blood Bowl gets a good amount of attention, even if it is a niche audience. For the Warhammer audience in general, it can grab a lot of people. And at least in terms of translating from the tabletop, Blood Bowl 2 is probably one of the best versions to compare to just the straight tabletop version of Blood Bowl. I can say I probably won't be playing Blood Bowl 2 on stream myself. I do have it. I'm just not very good at it. And I would probably just get frustrated by getting my teeth kicked in all the time and losing players all the time. But if you're fine with that, I can recommend Blood Bowl 2. If you're super into 40k lore, I can understand if Road Trader became your favorite game, the Owl Cat's Arsenal. Yeah, I mean, if you're paying attention to the primary lore source, primary lore source for Warhammer 40k, things like Rogue Trader are going to do very good numbers for you. I think there's a couple other good 40k games as well that are more action-based. Admittedly, at first I was thinking, hey, the Gears of War franchise would probably work well as a Warhammer IP, just in terms of the combat and how everything's done. I believe I heard later that Gears of War was supposed to be a Warhammer property, and they just fucked up again and got rid of the license before it was finished developing. So Gears of War kind of took off pretty well without them. But I'm not into either Pathfinder nor 40k, so I'm judging it through a normie's eyeballs. I mean, there's nothing wrong with judging it through a normie's eyeballs, Nano. Normie's eyeballs, rather. Because at least when it comes down to it, they are trying to pull people into their niche as well. They can't survive on just the goodwill of their supporters. But Warhammer and Warhammer 40K do have a good amount of options when it comes down to it, game-wise. I believe Total War Warhammer is also one of the good Warhammer games, at least conceptually. Graphically, it's definitely one of the good ones, but I've only heard from our direct friend group, Jason, singing its praises, which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying Jason has bad taste in video games, but it might also just be the fact that not many of our groups actually play it. And for a game like that, it is very well suited to just fighting your friends and causing misery. Jason's like games that are punishing. Exactly. My point is proven. But in general, for an RTS, Total War Warhammer is pretty good overall. The only ones I can really think of are just the ones tied to the base Warhammer universe, not the 40k one. Because you've got things like Total War Warhammer, you've got things like Blood Bowl, you've got Vermintide. Like, I'm thinking of all the good base Warhammer games, and I just don't have my toes dipped in enough into the 40k ones to really know what to recommend. Dude. Also, can recommend Vermintide. It's a pretty good Left 4 Dead experience overall, and if you're sick of seeing zombies, why don't you just shoot rats instead? Including the rat ogre. God, it is terrifying when a rat ogre just pops up on you. Thing is the ugliest thing possible, and you're dealing with it with medieval weaponry. But it is needed. The Skaven do need at least one unit that has muscle, and the rat ogre is that unit. It's a shame that the only muscle unit they needed required very heavy genetic modification, but that's just what you gotta do when you're a squishy-ass rat race. I'll say that 40k is perfect if you're a new 40k fan. It doesn't take for grain. Doesn't take for grain the player's knowledge of the universe. You meant Rogue Trader? Rogue Trader's perfect if you're a new 40k fan? Okay. Well, I guess if it goes over the topics in a casual enough way that you can just get the basics, it's not inherently a bad thing. Ugh. It's Wednesday, alright. Still pretty tired. And I guess a CCRPG. Probably not a bad way to get into it, since those games are kind of slow. Only kind of. They're slow enough that you should at least be able to get what's going on, as well as get a good visual feel for a universe, just in general terms of TTRPGs. And considering in the Warhammer universe, you are a group of assholes fighting another group of assholes pretty much in every occasion, unless you're the Salamanders, but even the Salamanders are not perfect. It's a good kind of franchise to get into if you just feel like being a jerk, and a justifiable jerk as well. Story heavy and roleplay, see how the world reacts to your choice is a good way to learn about it. Yeah. Because if you decide to save someone, people will chastise you for wasting time. Unless you're in the Salamanders, because they actually try to save people. And that's kind of sad that that's a defining trait for a race of the military. I'm pretty sure there is actually a purple branch of the Space Marines, isn't there? I don't recall who they are off the top of my head, but with watching the videos, I recall there is at least one that primarily focuses on purple. Yeah, so I'll just go there. Hmm. I seem to be getting a lot more PMs lately about joining free companies. I don't know what that's about. Hello there. Oh, I don't need anything now, but thank you for asking. Have lovely. Honestly, didn't even notice it at first. I know being a murderous hobo is a popular way to play CRPGs, but you can be a massive racist in Rogue Trader. Yeah, when it does come to 40k, the fact of everyone is evil is not a lie should tell you a lot about the universe. You don't see that often in gaming. Uh, Technically, no. But there is a good amount of racism still. Just it's not called out as often. It's probably called out more in Warhammer just because it's significantly more obvious that people are significantly more racist when dealing with various alien races, juiced up human races, and regular human races. I meant the devs allow us to be racist. Yeah, that's true. Oh, right, you can't skip this. Yeah, I guess that is true, in a sense. Most games don't actively allow the player to be racist. Aside from, like, general fantasy stuff of, like, dwarf not liking knife ears, or the elves not liking the short, sweaty men. I don't actually know what the lingo is between the elves hating the dwarves specifically. Yep. Wait, right, it's up there. Um, since I'm here, I may as well just go for the Morbay docs. I wonder how nice or how easy it is to be nice in Rogue Trader. Is it possible for you to actually be nice in that game? I guess a better question, how would you be nice in the Warhammer universe? Being nice kind of requires looking for some level of thanks for your deeds, or trying to expect to get anything out of other people. Races in Rogue Trader are a different breed, though. It's not like prejudice kind of bad. They live up to the word in that universe. I can only imagine that the racists in Warhammer 40k would mimic a similarly racist group that we generally need to deal with in our own world. Because I can definitely see it. When you're in a universe that's just constantly at war with itself, it's kind of hard to not just have a group of people that are specifically hating on another group and be exclusively, hey, we want to kill everyone in this lineage. Please don't stop us. Admittedly, Rogue Trader is probably one I would want to play anyways, if only because of the fact that I'd like to learn more about the Technis Mechanicus. Or no, not the Technis Mechanicus. Oh, what is that three-syllable word for the beginning of that? Did I attune? Okay. Terminus Mechanicus? No. The Tech Priest cult. I know it's like a three-syllable word than Mechanicus, but I just don't remember what that first word is. Adeptus, thank you. There is a T in it, just not at the start. But yeah, it probably wouldn't hurt to learn more about the Adeptus Mechanicus. It seems like something I'd probably be interested in. Is the weakness of the flesh being replaced with the Almighty honestly sounds like a pretty good deal overall. I could get my spine fixed with that. And then all I'd have to do is worry about a mechanic fixing it every so often instead of just dealing with it. I think the Adeptus Mechanicus also just gives a relatively good viewpoint on designing an augmented human. Because don't get me wrong, Adam Jensen, is that his name? Whatever the guy from Deus Ex Machina, whatever his name is, being an augmented human is cool. Sometimes it'd be cool to not actually look human and just have lines on your body. Sounds like you just want to validate your own body. Validate probably isn't the wrong word. I just want to make sure my body works. Although I'm not sure if you meant violate your own body, because those are two very different words. But they do have some heavy lore in Rogue Trader. Yeah. From what I recall, at least, Rogue Trader does have you deal with the Adeptus Mechanicus a healthy amount, which, for playing as regular humans, that makes sense. The main reason the Adeptus Mechanicus is allowed to exist is just because of the fact that they are the ones who are creating technologies to make the universe work. So even though their teachings are heretical and their actions are heretical, they are just left alive and unbothered because A, they make all of your weapons, and B, they are the ones who make your weapons and your gear, and you generally do not want to piss off your mechanic. I can assure you, it is never fun when your mechanic is the one getting angry. They do fight for the good of humanity, too. They do, yeah. The Adeptus Mechanicus, at least, is a force of good for humanity, but that's also with the idea of praising the Emperor and the Machine God. Or more so the Machine God, but they do praise the Emperor as well, now that he's functionally fused to his chair, acting as a functional light post for the warp. Although there's a lot of funny ways to just imagine the God Emperor. Since his position after all of the Crusade nonsense and the Horus Heresy left him in a state where he is fed. Is it 2,000 or 20,000 human souls a day just to keep him stable? Heard one. One is probably a bit more stable, yeah. But still, having to feed someone 1,000 human souls. Oh, yeah, right. It does specifically have to be the Psychers as well. So you can't just grab Jimmy from down the street. You have to specifically grab Houdini and 1,000 of Houdini in order to feed the Emperor. Thankfully, at least, since the attunement to the warp became significantly easier, you're not going to run out of Psychers anytime soon, but that's still a lot of souls. No. It's all on Terra, so I think they have a Psyker farm down there. Oh, probably. I'm sure they figured out some way of just pumping out children that are naturally gifted with links to the warp at this rate, or just cloning them. The technology in the Warhammer universe is weird, but most things are possible. Especially with Orc. The Orc believe red go fast, so they paint all machines red so they go fast. They believe purple is sneaky, so they wear purple clothes and they are never seen from again. Until it's too late. The fact that orcs just functionally have creation magic is ridiculous. Well, not creation magic. No orcs in Rogue Trader, sadly. There are mentions of them, though. Yeah, when it comes to orcs, putting them in a video game is a little bit rougher because the orcs are very powerful, and the orcs have a ridiculous magic system that would be nearly impossible to program. Well, conceptually, orc magic is a simple version of if I believe in it, it'll work. And their ideologies are limited just by the fact that the orcs are not smart. And if there are a lot of smart orcs, they're usually not powerful enough to stand up in the clan. But it'll be interesting when this is a dedicated orc Warhammer 40k game. It's definitely not impossible. They can figure out a way to do it. And there. Honestly, if they just wanted to make an orc Warhammer 40k kart racing game, I'd be down for that. Be wacky as heck if they're allowed in. Yeah. Looking between the orcs in base Warhammer and the orcs of the 40k uni makes things significantly harder to compare them. Because base Warhammer orcs are what you would expect. Just big, strong green guys who bully around goblins. Orcs in 40k are big green guys that bully around goblins with a magic source that is tied to their race that allows them to believe in whatever they want and for it to work. That is why a lot of orcish spaceships are literally just meteors or asteroids with stuff glued onto it. It shouldn't work, but they tape an engine to it. Engine makes ship go move. So ship move. That is how orc magic works. Oh, I guess I stood in that. Whoops. They could throw some in for a bit of comedy relief, but I don't think they can be tied to the main story. Not easily, no. Because the orcish motto is just Wah. They go to Wah. The big orcs succeed because they are big. Cargo fast because red. Avoiding child payment is allowed for purple because purple sneaky. We may as well go this way. I am starting to run out of energy, though. I'm realizing I like playing 14, but when I'm playing 14, I'm usually multitasking very hard. Which is probably what keeps me awake while I'm doing this. Oh, they're actually a sage. Dungeons, raid, mentor, treasure, leveling, and guild. You should probably not use the moon subtype if there's white text. And it looks like they're just primarily content-based. See, the companions are decent, I think. Better than Kingmaker, but worse than Wrath. Now that Rogue Trader is updated with more voice acting? Oh god, yeah. If a CRPG is just going to get voice acting, that helps it immensely as long as your cast isn't like the Ghost Trick cast, where everything is just ruined and nothing is managed properly. And so grab you while we're here. I watched people playing the beta, and oh boy, they're mostly mutes. Yeah. Voice acting for a CRPG is probably one of the last things you think of for it, because there's so much else to work on a CRPG before you even have to worry about how the characters are going to sound. Because I know things like Pillars of Eternity is also like half voiced, So important characters have voices, and important cutscenes tend to get voices, but not everyone you talk to has a voice. I believe Baldur's Gate 3 got a good amount of praise for that, if only because everyone was voice acted. And then Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, I believe, are half voiced as well. Where the main characters have voices at least, but the NPCs tend to not. Yeah, I think if it's a CRPG of that caliber, everything should be voiced. Yeah. AAA CRPGs realistically should have voice acting in them for everybody because A, they actually have the capital to do so, but B, it just helps the experience for getting players sucked into your world instead of focusing on the people who are used to that mechanic and know how to insert themselves into another world. Yep. Then we get this quest, which will give us the tomestones required, or the currency required at least, to get the chocobo thing, to do the side quest, and then mounts will be unlocked. Oh. I only need a little bit more EXP before we can actually do the White Mage quest. I need to actually pop my neck. 1 second. Guess I shouldn't be too surprised that one hurt. Okay. Great, now I want to draw Owlcat companions. I mean, if you've got the time for it, that's not a bad thing to do. Owlcats are definitely cutie patooties. I do love a lot of the characters from Owlcat. I did use their voices before for an animation. Well, there you go. It's just pure inspiration. There's nothing wrong with you playing video games when you're supposed to be animating instead. Not at all. You're just looking for inspiration. Yeah. The one with Solace, that one's from Wrath. Which one of Solace? Because you've made a couple with Serwyn. Oh, both. Fair enough. Alrighty. We hand in this quest. I believe this is enough to get us to 30. Yep, I got the magic stick 3. So we'll grab this while we're here. It wants us to go to Grandia anyway, so that helps us a little bit. Solace and Liz is from Wrath. Solace Unteachable Dialogue is also from Wrath. Gotcha. Well, thank you very much, Wrath, for giving Nano enough inspiration to animate Solace being angry at people. Can't wait for you to meet him. Well, we're definitely going to have to see. We've got a lot of games in our potential list, so I'm not really sure when we'd be able to get to a CRPG, but when in doubt, there's always a way. Let's see. Interesting. Can I not actually check Adventure Plate from emotes? You can only check it from there? Oh, no, it's probably just under. Do move your little legs, Jojagana. That. Grab the Chocobo issuance from here. And then we go back downstairs. I also have to remember how you do the quest to get the mail cap. I'm not sure if that would be good for this character specifically, but it may not be a bad option glam-wise. Way. You will be named Jeff. Are you spoiled on companions for Baldur's Gate 3? I don't remember actually. I might have been. That might be why I didn't really care about the plot as much, because I kind of got most of the characterization out of the way super early. Yep. Let's see. I definitely knew about the bear pretty early on. It's kind of hard to not know about the druid because everyone was just down bad for having sex with the bear. Astorion definitely got a lot just because he was a white-haired vampire twink. Yeah, technically speaking, the bear is a companion. He is the druid that you meet up with in the Shadowlands. He just transforms into a bear for that sex scene because you ask. Because clearly you're the freak for wanting to have sex with a bear. Although Baldur's Gate at least did let you be pretty gay overall, so that was nice. Can you turn to other things? Nope. You have the question if he will turn into a bear for you during Smex, because that's the primary animal that he's tied to. Because in the goblin camp where he's trapped originally, he's just stuck as a bear in a cage. So he's pretty heavily tied with bear, just in terms of animalness, both in form as well as just available transformations, because he's a powerful guy. He can actually turn into a bear at a proper CR level. South Shroud. Can I go there yet? Oh, cool, I can. I think we'll stick with the mantra of we'll end once I finish off this White Mage quest. Just because my head is starting to hurt from wearing the headset. And we may get the PvP area unlocked as well. Just because if I need to level up to 70, PvP dailies will be pretty helpful. Okay, next. I don't think any of the other companions in Baldur's Gate 3 can actually turn into animals either. I think it is just the druid dude. Boy. Really? Girl, that is by right beside a bunch of level 27s. Yeah, I can't even stand here without being accosted. Honestly, I couldn't quite get into Baldur's Gate universe, especially after seeing the spaceship. Yeah, if you're used to high fantasy and you see the Mind Flayer technology, it's a little hard to just keep it to high fantasy. But I get it. Maybe that's why I didn't care about it much either, to be honest with you. Because it just felt you were gallivanting around with a bunch of nonsense magic, and there were just alien spacecrafts for no reason. It's not really no reason, mind you, just because the Mind Flayers are super statted out on intelligence, but it can come a little bit out of place if you're not used to seeing the Mind Flayers, just because they are functionally just aliens. Like, they're aliens you would probably fight in XCOM aliens. The Dark Eldar has something like that. Thing that crawls inside your skull in spaceships, but the tech makes sense. Yeah. With the Mind Flayers of the Baldur's Gate universe, at the very least, since you are dealing with... Is that... You're dealing with functional nautiloids that are turning... Or sorry, cephalopods that are turning nautiloids into spaceships. It's a little harder to get into when the highest level of technology in that universe is a candle. Oh, wait, is there something to fight? Oh boy. Right, he actually hurts. They feel like a combo between Tyranids and Dark Eldars for the Dark Fantasy tech. Yeah, you're not exactly wrong in that respect. Oh boy, can I rush him down? Boy, don't get hit. Come on. There we go. I figured he could rush it down. But yeah, that is functionally what the mind flayers are like to some degree. They infect other hosts, they physically change them in order to add to their ranks. There's apparently a hive mind for the Baldur's Gate 3 universe. So that's not a very comfortable thought if you're going in for all power and then you just get taken over by the will of someone else. But they had to put an ankle or a brace on one of the races in the Baldur's Gate universe from just being all powerful, so can't fault them for it. Get this last Conjurer quest out of the way. Then we'll look into getting the White Mage done, unlocking PvP, and then we'll probably call it there. That should probably take roughly half an hour. Oh, options. Um, I guess the coat. Tier 2. Higher potency. Double the magic cost. Hmm. Oh, am I at the point where I can't actually do the quests that I need? Oh, fuck. Okay. We will see after we get my feisty chocobo going. I forgot during my time doing this that there's a certain quest you need to unlock before you can actually do the level 30 job quests. Thankfully, it's not once you get into the level 30 bracket, but it's like level 25-ish, I think. So maybe we won't do the White Mage quest today. I'll probably do that in my own time. But I can at least assure you that you won't be missing much if I do some of this work off screen. Especially for this guy, because I'm not even playing the class that he's going to end up being at the end of the day. You haven't gotten a horse? I mean, I have a motorbike. Plus, I have a chocobo. Pretty sure they're the white mage features. Wait, what are you riding on? A motorcycle. This is like the one cash shop mount that I have bought because it's one that you just unlock account wide when you buy it. Wait. Metal Olafel. I mean, at the end of the day, this guy is going to become a sage, so having the motorcycle is probably one of the better mounts, conceptually at least. For a sage? Yeah. While it's called a sage, it is a job class that is exclusively one of the tech-based ones because you are a magic caster that has laser pistols strapped to your back that you use to provide damage and shielding for your allies. Called sage, not very sage-like in definition. This is a Final Fantasy sage we are dealing with. They are a little bit more tricksy. I see we're going to be like semi-damage dealer. Oh, well, yes, technically, but the general idea of Final Fantasy XIV is everyone is a DPS, even if you're the healer. The healer just has more options for taking care of people than other people do, but you are trying to focus on your damage too. Because a dead enemy is less healing that you have to do. But in general, the Sage is just another one of the healers with a bit more focus on shields. And I think countering. I haven't actually looked into Sage very much. I just know it's one of the classes I want to get done out of the way early for this challenge. Just because level 70 is not simple to get to when you're just running a healer. Nope. Thank you. I admittedly do need that, but... Oh. I lost a follower this stream. Well, that's no fun. And fix your things and lock in. Yeah, don't worry, we're fixing stuff. We won't be playing for too much longer, I don't think, just because I don't think we're close to unlocking White Mage. But we'll at least get the Chocobo quest done and the Maelstrom quest done. And then we'll see, because I feel like I'm close to unlocking the next job, but I do not fully recall where I need to get to at the moment. Yep. Kind of the only problem when you learn how to efficiently level classes in ARR, you kind of jump the shark in a sense. So you end up doing the level 30 quests while you're still level 20 and you're kind of outgeared. And then you end up doing the level 40 quests in level 20 gear. Oh wait, I can ride the bike. 2. Okay. Then we need to summon our chicken. I'm here, Jeff. Nope. More. I will admit I'm pretty bad when it comes to actually using the companions for anything other than just an extra saddlebag. But they are generally helpful in just overworld PvE situations. Oh look, your spirit animal. No, it's not quite a spirit animal. It's just a chocobo that you can bring to your side when needed. The flower dino? Oh. This is right. They are a good design. I'll give them that much. It's hard not thinking of Palworld whenever anyone mentions Flower Dino anymore. Meganium and Gujar are two very good Pokemon. Combining them in Palworld did not help its notoriety very much. Hey. Cool. Okay, I don't actually have the White Mage quest available yet. Need to get to Wolf's Pier, which is easiest from here. And Chunk Dino Bloom. Yeah. It's a good design. It's just a shame that it looks too much like a ripoff. Palworld is kind of another one of those games that I wasn't expecting it to get the success that it did. It was such a meme at first, but they ran with it. They got it to work. With the potential for legal mitigation from Nintendo if they ever tried to fight it. Because I kind of have to agree with the folks online discussing it. Dude. Okay, I'll lock in for a second. Final part. Alright, best of luck. Enjoy the fight. Oh, I don't have the PvP bar set up. Go in here. Talk with this bro. Actually, a good amount of people here right now. There we go. PvP unlocked. The fact that you even have to unlock it is admittedly kind of funny, but good enough. And if I recall correctly, there should be a PvP roulette, or at least a frontline roulette. Get that unlocked. I think is you. Well, the rival wing attendant or the frontline attendant. Rival wings. Hello, tall and gigantic sir. Why are you being such a chicken shit? Hmm. Maybe I have to come back on a specific day to unlock frontline? Maybe. Being a non-native English speaker is kind of detrimental to CRPG immersion, not gonna lie. Takes all my brain juice just to imagine what I'm reading. Yeah. I unfortunately can't comment on that just because I am a native English speaker, but I can imagine it can be a little bit tricky if you're just trying to find the equivalent words to things that you may not have fully learned off the top of your head. Because the English language kinda sucks. Ah, there it is. I knew we were close. And you do start it here. Alrighty, never mind. Plane is back on the table. We can at least do the White Mage quest so we can get our White Mage crystal. And then we can be a fancy dark mage or fancy white mage for about 40 more levels before we grab our guns because we're sick and tired of dealing with people's nonsense. Yep. Right, I gotta see them there first. Okay. Speaking English is a brain exercise for me. Yeah, speaking English would generally be a pretty good brain exercise if you're not a native speaker. I know learning or trying to learn French at the very least is kind of just getting me in a bit of a knot just because it's not super easy to learn a second language when English is your first one. Hope one day it'll come naturally. It should, realistically, because you are dealing with a good amount of English-based audiences in the first place. So you'll be able to catch context from random people as well as just testing out your language to make sure you're saying the right things in general. Salty ass the Lalafell. Okay. Grab the bike out here. Apparently I can also speak Canadian, so I think I'm trilingual. How exactly do you know that you can speak Canadian? Because Canadian technically has its own slang terms, not even just in terms of insults, but certain words are just used for certain things that really only work in Canada. I don't remember them just because my memory is dog shit and my part of the world doesn't use it a lot, but if you're hanging more out in places like Northern Ontario or Newfoundland or most of the East Coast, that's generally where you're going to be getting a lot of the slang. I'm speaking to you right now. Canadian doesn't work like that, Nano. I don't speak a lot of the main slang terms that Canadians use. So you're missing out on a good amount of the language still, I can promise you. Yep. Is there a part in Canada where they all have American accents? I would want to say Alberta, but I can't really confirm that. Oh, that's rude. Sir, I am a caster. I need to be able to cast spells. Yeah. And I guess it depends on what you mean by an American accent. Like, do you mean the Texan accent? Do you a Seattle accent, a New York accent? There isn't exactly a dedicated American accent as far as I'm aware. Texas, the Texan or Southern accent is probably Alberta, Saskatchewan. New York doesn't really have a good comparison, but you might find instances of it in Toronto, like Ontario, the normal American. No, I've heard that there are some differences just between how Canadians speak and how Americans speak, just in terms of like dialogue used. But there are some simple points to it that people can get across relatively easily. Go down. Oot. You might be able to just see it more along popular border points. So the South Ontario sections that are close to the border, so closer to like Windsor and such, you might find people that might speak a little bit more of it. I couldn't tell just from the voice, although some people have claimed to be able to. Yeah, I think there's something to deal with inflection that comes as a slight difference between Canadian and American, but it is very faint, so unless you do a little bit of extra study into it, it's going to be a little bit hard to figure out what it is. I have not done that study personally. I just know it's a thing. But that is also partly why people tend to mark their streams as Canadian or have something a little more obvious on screen to mark you as Canadian, just so that way people can at least assume that you're drinking maple syrup all morning for your breakfast. And before you go to bed, you got to make sure to play uh, or a full game of hockey, just in case. You may have time to feed your polar bear, but you're probably just going to be spending time tending to your igloo beforehand, so kind of just comes as a point where you're trying to figure things out. There we go. And there's white mage unlocked. I just love getting the level 30 jobs in level 15 gear. Do I have anything better, actually? Oh, I do. Cool. Skills. There's one skill you get just as a part of turning into a white mage, which is helpful. Everything else is still the same. You don't get stone 3 until 54. Okay. So we are now technically a white mage. Just to make my life easier, because the white mage teacher's in a really weird spot, I am just going to set this crystal as my home crystal for now. Because I'll have to come back here every 5 levels or so for a bit. Let's see. Ow. Yeah, we've been going for basically 4 hours now. Want me to go? Just back to main Grandia so you can head that way. Since I'm at the end of Rogue Trigger, I do want to let you know that all Owlcat games have secret endings. Deal with that knowledge how you wish. Probably going to be a little bit hard dealing with spare Owlcats. Yeah, it's probably safe. Alrighty then. Guess requisite dealings has me find a raid target. And yes, you too can use the raid command. I have not limited that to anybody. At least I'm pretty sure I haven't limited that to anybody. There is a mysterious streamer by the name of Toturi playing Risk of Rain 2. I know that's a pretty rare game to see people play, but why don't we go say hi? Oh wow, Twitch just completely dropped off all the lurkers. No, the raid commands are technically set up for everybody, so anyone can technically use them, just I'm the only one who does it when we're actually going to raid people. Grab that. And thank you very much for joining us, Solace. I'll be back tomorrow, I believe, to do some art stuff. We probably should try and make some progress on that picture, just so that way I can finish that before the summer hits, hopefully. And then I can keep my canvas open for gifts and not have to worry about not having a project done. That's all right. Hopefully you all have a lovely rest of your evening. I'll talk with you again tomorrow if you want to join us for some art. And I'll try and stay in good spirits. But for now, bye-bye. 5, 4, 3, 1. Bye-bye.